Jack, please, I'm only an elected podcast here. I can't make decisions by myself. The Nightmare Before Christmas is coming up next.
Haven't Seen It with Tim Sestito and Tommy Tevenet. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Thank you all so much for listening today. This is a podcast where one of us is watching a movie for the very first time, and today that is myself. And a
Yeah.
Merry Christmas to you, Tommy. Our Christmas Eve special, our end of the year special here on
Yeah.
Haven't Seen It, The Nightmare Before Christmas. I know we had floated this around as a Halloween movie, and now
So,
we're floating this,
yes.
now we're doing it as a Christmas movie.
So on first watch, what do you think? It fits in both categories. What do you say it's more of?
Way more of a Christmas movie than a Halloween movie.
Yeah.
Like
Um,
outside
you,
of the first song, it's a Christmas movie. Um,
yeah.
from that point on, charming animated film that I just, I guess my parents never picked up the VHS on it, and when you're a
You
kid,
clearly never.
that's kind of your range of like seeing movies is the ones that your parents pick up for you, and this was not one of them that I had on tape.
Clearly, Tim, you never went through a goth phase, is what we're learning tonight, guys.
Yeah, I didn't. True, true,
Yeah, very true.
very
So,
true. I never went through a goth phase, but Tommy, end of the year, maybe tell us some of the movies that you watched in the past week or so, before we dive deeper into A Nightmare Before Christmas.
yeah, so I'm going to talk about a movie that I literally just watched right before we recorded. It's my favorite movie of all time, Shaun of the Dead, and I recently got on a 4K. I got a 4K player recently, diving into that world, and it's one of those things that, like, I've seen this movie like probably like 100 times at this point, like probably close to it or something like that. But going from the DVD copy that I've been using, which is like 480p, to be a technical nerd for a minute, and then going straight to 4K, I just noticed so much fucking shit throughout this movie that like I've seen a million times. Of like Shaun the Dead and Edgar Wright in general, I feel like is a director that just has so much shit going on in the background at all times, and he's a very visual stuff. Where like he's the guy you watch this movie over and over and over again, you'll see new things. And again on this 4K restoration, I saw so much different stuff right here in the background, and like different audio cues, audio tracks I couldn't hear beforehand. So it was really just great to dive into a movie that I've seen countless times at this point.
Yeah, I imagine that jump from 480p to 4K is just
Alone.
huge. It's just
Yeah.
huge alone. Yeah, and like, I feel like streaming is kind of like 720p.
Mhm.
Sometimes it looks better. Like I know they say 4K, but the files are so compressed that even if it's like a 4K clarity, it's nowhere near the same as like watching it on a disc. I've noticed that when I watch some of my Blu-rays that I have,
Mhm.
which are
Yeah,
just 1080p, like you can see the difference.
it's crazy. It's one of those things that, I mean, like I remember I used to like not really care that much about like, oh, like I'll still watch shit on DVD that I have, I don't care. But I remember like I tried to watch when we did it last year, the Stephen King movie. I had a copy of it on DVD. I fired up the DVD and immediately was just like, this picture quality is shit. I'm gonna go to HBO Max and actually see like the 4K or 4K supposed. So it's just one of those things that you realize, holy shit, like picture quality actually matters a lot when it comes to this.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely matters, especially with something like Shaun of the Dead, which I think I've only watched with you once. I really liked it. I just haven't dove back into it. I watched Jackass #2,
Nice.
and yeah,
Never
I don't
seen
know.
it.
I don't. Have you ever seen any of the Jackasses?
I have not seen a single Jackass movie. Maybe
I
like a episode of the show.
they're like the epitome of dudes rock. Like
Yeah.
like the movie is just a longer version of the show. It doesn't try to like form a narrative or anything. It's just little sketches, but there's just something to it about like it's just pure stunts and some stupidity in there as well. And off-brand humor, toilet humor, if you will. But there's just something admirable about the levels of degeneracy these guys put themselves through and like the pain tolerance that they all have. And obviously, all of them were on just a ton of drugs because that's how
That
you
definitely
get
would
through
help.
it. Bam
Yeah.
Margera is not doing too hot right now. I'm
He's
sure
doing better apparently.
he's doing
Is
better
he in rehab?
apparently. I feel
I
like
have
he's
a Bam
been.
Margera story that I probably shouldn't tell on Mike, but I think I told you before.
What is it?
I'll tell you off mic.
Don't do that to people. Just say it on mic.
Um, hold on a second. I'll text you real quick.
Okay, we're just not going to tell the Bam Margera story then that Tommy teased because for whatever reason we can't do that one. But yeah, Jackass number two, hilarious. Maybe we'll cover one of them. I don't know if there's a ton of meat off the bones to kind of like
We've
go
realized like a problem of comedy sometimes.
and like there's not even a story in this one. It's just stunts. Um, but Spike Jonze is a huge producer of it, which I find interesting because like he has like really prolific and like deep features, and then he's also like the producer of all the Jackass movies and show. And I think it's like a funny
That's it's crazy because like he's like really known for like meditative like fucked up movies or like just a very like mood vibe, and then is also with the fucking insane hilarious fucking Jackass shit.
yeah, he's known for that. Um Yeah, you know what, Tommy, you sent me the story. It's not that great. Basically, there was just a mishap at one of the theaters he
No,
worked at.
no, no, no. There's a guy who fucking contacted us said he was Bam's booking agent, and he may have sent a deposit to him, and it turned out that he had no contact with Bam in years. So,
Oh, there you go.
yeah,
So Bam was working with some shysters. I see there. I can't imagine why Bam cut his relationship with him at
yeah.
all. But onto a more cheery and pleasant note to round off our 2023 season, The Nightmare Before Christmas.
From Touchstone Pictures. 'Twas the night before Christmas, but in the land of Halloween, it was decided that this year something new would be seen.
Surprised, aren't you?
From Tim Burton, the director of Beetlejuice and Edward Scissorhands, comes a motion picture experience unlike any other. Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas.
And what did Santa bring you, honey?
Rated PG. Coming this month to a theater near you.
So, Nightmare Before Christmas follows Jack Skellington, who I did not realize the singing vocals were done by Danny Elfman because like I've heard like Halloween Town before, like the
Yeah.
song like
This is how.
yeah, this is Halloween, da, 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 da,
Yeah.
yeah, like I'm very well aware about it. I feel like the image of him on the mountain with the moon in the background while he's singing is
Yeah.
like an iconic.
That's iconic at this point. Yeah.
It's an iconic image of this film. Um, but Tommy, so for you, what's your relationship with this movie? Because I'm
So
gonna
I
think that
feel
you maybe saw this as a kid.
I feel like the first time I saw this was like in high school or something, or maybe early college, like shockingly. I didn't dive too deep into Tim Burton until like, around like college or high school. And this is a movie though, I think that is just incredible. I mean, like the claymation style. It's just hilarious that this is known as Nightmare Before Christmas when he was not the guy who directed it all. That was Henry Selick. But like, you see it in pop culture throughout the years. I mean, I remember like earlier this week, one of my coworkers sent me some like 94 video of like, how the Grinch Stole Christmas. It was like Phil Hartman explained how this show went on. And they had Tim Burton and Danny Elfman on be like, the makers of The Nightmare Before Christmas are here to talk about the Grinch. And no mention of Henry Selick whatsoever. It says Tim Burton director. So immediately Henry Selick just gets erased for this movie, where even though he was the one that ended up taking the brunt of it and everything like that, Tim Burton came up with like some character designs for Sally and maybe Jack, but like Henry Selick says that he wasn't involved in a hands-on way, but his hand was in it. It was my job to make it look like a Tim Burton movie, which is not so different from my own films. And he was like, I don't want to take away from Tim, but he was not in San Francisco when we made it. He came up 5 times in 2 years and spent no more than 8 or 10 days in total on set. And meanwhile, when you ask the average person on the street who directed Night Before Christmas,
They're gonna say Tim Burton because Tim Burton at this point, he's coming off Batman, Batman Forever. This is him at like
returns.
the
He was
Batman
actually
Returns. This is the peak of Tim Burton's power in Hollywood.
yeah,
So of
like
course
every
they're gonna
hands just hit, and this is a
Yeah.
marketing technique. We're like, oh, he produced this. It's based on some poem he
So you
wrote.
just put Tim Burton's A Nightmare Before Christmas, even though he really didn't have anything to do with the production there. Yeah, for me, like the claymation style was really engaging and like
Mm.
you got that creativity of it. I think the biggest tell that this is not a Tim Burton movie is I didn't feel that like misfit of making a lost family
Mm.
theme that like is true
He
in
goes
like
back
all
to yeah.
like on all of his films, and like I didn't think that theme was really there. I just thought this was like a clever way of joining two drastically different holidays together.
Mm.
And kind of telling the story of somebody who's trapped doing the same thing over and over again and wanting to do something new, wanting to do something different, and Jack discovering Christmas Town, and um, that beautiful scene with this, with him singing and watching
Yeah.
all the elves get everything ready, the kids playing with a snowball fight.
So, as someone that like just saw this movie for the first time, I mean, how many of the songs were you aware of beforehand? Because I feel like Halloween, like this Halloween, you definitely knew.
That's the only one I knew.
Yeah. Okay. So the other one that I feel like maybe has a lot of crossover potential would be the what's this? What's this? Because I feel like that gets referenced a lot in like you know pop culture over the years and stuff like that.
Yeah, the What's This song, I felt like really stood out to me. Um, I think another thing too, and this is just something that comes with claymation movies that I've noticed because it takes
Mm.
so long to film a claymation movie because you have to move the characters and the world every frame.
Oh yeah, like Henry Selick said they pretty much did like 70 seconds a week. That's how much like they were able to get on. And it took them like 3.5 years to make this movie because of painstakingly process. Apparently, Tim Burton, one of the reasons why I didn't direct this was like, I didn't want to be involved with claymation. That sounded like a lot. He's not wrong.
Yeah, he's not wrong. I mean, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous claymation. Like every
it pays
detail,
off,
every
yeah.
frame, it pays off in the end result. And just like the handstaking labor behind it, like you can tell this is a labor of love. And everybody involved in the production, uh, you know, had some sort of their creative energy put into this final vision here and making something like this work. Um, and so for me, Tommy, I, liked it, and I think my favorite part of it was the movie is when Jack announces that Halloween Town will just take over Christmas.
Yeah.
Because Jack's intentions don't come from this negative place, I don't think, of like we're gonna just steal Christmas. It's like no, he wants to be Santa Claus. Like he saw what Christmas Town is and wants that for his world. Like he wants something new, something different. But he's part of Halloween world and Halloween Town, and like all he
That's
knows
a
is
lot
scare,
different. Yeah.
and it's a lot different kind of world, and just like the whole build up to the sleigh ride and the Christmas,
He's dropping off like shrunken heads as presents and stuff
yeah,
like that.
and like but like how like the town is all chipping in and stuff, like that was such a charming sequence,
Yeah.
that I really enjoyed. What for you like kind of stood out, on this watch through versus your first couple of times watching this?
I feel like one thing I really picked up on how it was like the Charlie Brown nature of it in some ways, where I noticed that once it gets into the real world and it's like the scene of Jack like going around like on the carriage and stuff like that, and like going house to house pretending to be Santa. Whenever it cuts to a parent, you don't see the parent's face whatsoever, or an adult. Like even when it's the cop on screen, the cop is obscured by some light. When it's the radio announcer, the radio announcer's face is cut off right at the top, right there. So very much makes this feel much more fantastical in a way, and bringing down that Charlie Brown like classic feel. This is why a point where this movie has entered the upper echelon of Christmas movies. I mean, unlike Bad Santa, which we covered last week, for us at least, this movie I feel like is like brought up now with the ultimate classics, like It's a Wonderful Life and all that.
In 2023, this year, the film was selected for preservation by the U.S. National Film Registry by the Library of Congress for being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. A designation that I do not believe Bad Santa will ever achieve.
Well, you're also forgetting that it entered the Goth Hall of Fame in 1993 immediately.
The Goth Hall of Fame?
You walk into Hot Topic and like it's just half the merchandise right there is Nightmare Before Christmas.
Definitely a movie, a merchandise bonanza.
What's funny is like Disney like left this as a kind of like a stepchild in a way. Like when
it's funny now, it's Touchstone, it's not Disney.
Yeah, when you watch it now on Disney Plus, it immediately comes up with the big Disney logo and everything like that. But it originally did not come up with that. It was originally they were going to originally release it as like a Walt Disney feature animation, but then they decided that this was going to be a Touchstone, which is their adult-oriented banner, because the studio thought this film would be too dark and too scary for kids. And their biggest fear was like, and while it was kind of a stepchild project, was that they're afraid their core audience hating the film and not coming. And came out. It did okay at the time. It just had legs. It grew. This became a DVD classic, merchandise classic, and now to the point where it's one of the Disney Renaissance films.
It's definitely considered amongst the Disney Renaissance films. And it's interesting because you just think like Disney theme parks, they could just make like, how does Halloween Town not have like its own section in one of the parks? Like it feels like a perfect like match made in heaven. You know what I mean? Like if I'm putting on my business hat, like I see it there, like did it have the popularity and the legs? Like it had a $24 million budget. It grossed over $100 million at the time, which very good.
Well, it earned 50 million in the United States, to be clear. So it was like kind of a like moderate sleeper hit, really. And like then this is one of those things that like this started happening when we were in like middle school, where Disney started releasing this film in 3D. This is like in 06, 07, 08, 09. And just do that over and over again, like the 3D 1 month only.
I remember those.
Nightmare Before Christmas. And they did that even recently. It earned like 15 million, 10 million at the time. Every time this would come back in theaters, it would just get higher and higher, and people would just love to see it again on the big screen. I was bummed I missed the most recent release, which was like a couple months ago.
It's it was this would have been fun to see in the theaters. I don't know about the 3D effect. I would have hoped they might have left that one in the tank, like I just don't feel like I need the 3D.
Avatar was 13 years ago. We're over 3D.
Not until Avatar 3 comes out in 2028. Or
I feel like I'm the only person that did see Avatar 2 at this point.
I don't know if they're faking the box office numbers on that one or not, but they might be. Like Avatar 2 was very visually pleasing, but Avatar 2 it's just like the weirdest, highest grossing franchise I've ever seen that just has no like cultural stay. It's just weird.
It is bizarre because rewatching the first one, fuck, we're on our Avatar tangent, but forget about the movie. So what do you think of Oogie Boogie, the villain of this movie?
He was my favorite character. I loved Oogie Boogie.
Yeah, what
Oogie
a great
Boogie
creature design. It's like
know.
a bag of fleas or whatever, a bag of bugs.
But you don't realize that he's like all bugs, and just his voice was so menacing, and his songs were just so like.
He had great villain songs. That's the best part of any Disney movie. Usually, is the villain song.
Oh yeah, easily. It's always the villain songs, and the Kidnap the Sandy Claus.
I love that. Yeah, Kidnap the Sandy Claus.
And then Oogie Boogie's song itself, when Jack has to rescue Sally, he was my favorite part. He just put a big old smile on my face. Like I really enjoyed him. Tommy, so for you, Sally as like a character who's created by the mad scientist Dr. Finkelstein, and it's kind of wasn't said out loud that she was like made to be his like house slave, but like that's kind of the interpretation I got there. But
It's a
she
little
always,
creepy. I mean, I
yeah,
think Catherine O'Hara was incredible in the
yeah,
performance right there. She was just so fucking charming in the role.
charming and
Um,
carried a lot of soul in the role
yeah,
for this movie. Kind of being the voice of reason for the audience. She has the vision when she's picking the flowers of Christmas blowing up in their face if Jack goes through with it. And, Jack obviously won't listen. And then she casts the fog spell, right, to try to dismiss him. And then the dog has the nose, which was a nice touch to Rudolph.
mm,
Oh, perfect. You'll be able to get through there. And then I loved the sequence of him running through the world and dropping off the presents and scaring all the kids. And then the cop coming in with the like, oh, this is the second report we've got today of haunted Christmas gifts. um it's very it's got it's like it's got like the anti-Grinch thing, and it's because Jack's intention is pure, like he wants to provide a nice Christmas, but he only knows how to do it in the way that he knows.
So that's the thing that like I've been wondering when I was rewatching this movie this time is like what is the ultimate message of this movie? Is it just like embrace what you're good at and don't try and fucking branch out? Because that's what it
I,
felt
I
like.
I don't know if this movie ultimately has like that clear of a message. I think it's, I think it was much more of like a style, like the style and the craftsmanship behind the animation itself, I think is what makes this movie so like resonate with people, and like the classic songs. I didn't think the movie really had like a message at the
All right,
end of it.
I've seen something. I just googled this to see if it was a jackass or not. But apparently, one article said at the top of Google, the moral of the story is that even if one fails at a great quest, the effort is still worth it.
Yeah, that sounds like a nice theme there, I guess, to kind of put
Uh,
into it. But
yeah,
like
but
I didn't,
for me watching it, I was literally just like, is
for
it
like a
literally just saying,
four-year-old watching
"Hey,
this, they're
kid,
not going to come away
you're
with that message of the
no."
movie.
I was literally thinking it was just like, "Hey, fucking goth kid, be goth in your goddamn goth corner in Halloween Town. Don't try and be fucking Christmas because you can't fuck with Christmas, Jack Skellington."
Yeah, you got to put a positive spin on a Disney movie. But
Yeah.
I think we should just touch on like the animation, like the way
In
that
terms of characters,
the character design. Like I love the
every
character.
background character is amazing. Like
Yeah,
this is a great movie to rewatch because just you see, especially like during the Halloween Town, I've seen all the different creepy monsters and stuff like that. Of like the different vampires, the fucking werewolves, the just the three Lockstock kids, or like the kidnap the Santa Claus kids.
yeah.
All of them are just such great creature designs. Was there like
And
one that you had a specific favorite other than Oogie
I
Boogie?
really like the mayor, like
Yeah.
him having the two faces that turned around. Like I got
Mm.
like the faintest hints of like the mayor from Jaws vibes from him, although he ultimately just didn't have that big of a role in the movie. But just like the tiniest little hints of it at the beginning, I was like, oh, is this guy gonna be that guy that like causes it? 'Cause like I didn't know where the movie was going, and I didn't
Yeah.
realize that Jack was gonna really be the driving force of it. But it ultimately shows like his obsession, and his like determination to try something new, which is admirable feat for a character. And even though he ultimately doesn't succeed, he does give the world a good Christmas because Santa Claus
Yeah.
uh, is is capable of doing great things and providing all the boys and girls in the world a wonderful Christmas. I really wasn't expecting the scene of like the military shooting him down, and then like the gun, like the big guns. I was like, oh, damn! All right, here we go. Like, and
That's why
Jack's,
this wasn't a Disney movie originally. Probably.
it's
To
like
be real.
Jack's like, oh, Merry Christmas! They're shooting at us to celebrate, and it's like, no, 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 they're shooting at us. And like when he ultimately like realizes he kind of failed, uh, and Sally kind of comforting him towards the end, and him going over to her and like realizing they had a really nice friendship there, and that Sally, her actions were ultimately to try to help Jack and prevent him from that failure.
Mm,
But sometimes you do have to try at something to know that it doesn't work. And
yeah.
now we know that Halloween people should not make Christmas stuff.
Yeah, yeah. You gotta stick to your goth corner, like I said. So was there a favorite song of yours?
Oogie Boogie song, that was so menacing.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
the perfect level right there.
it was the perfect level, and like just the set design in the basement with the robots
Yeah,
with the gun and the swirly merry-go-round with the knives on it.
the
Like it was,
casino thing and the neon lights and stuff like
yeah,
that. It was just all a great set piece right there. And you have to imagine, like, even when we're talking about claymation, like how long it took, like 70 seconds a week. Just the amount of effort that just went to just that scene alone is incredible to think about.
yeah, and just you see it throughout the whole movie. Like this is really a movie that is a labor of love ultimately. And it really shines through, and I think it's the big part of the reason that this movie, not that it's a cult film, but like has this cultish following to it and is such a recognizable, iconic film of the United
And
States and
it's
Disney's catalog.
crazy. It's only because of Tim Burton's influence that this movie has not been hoarded out to death. Because like apparently Disney has wanted to make sequels over the years of like, oh, what if it's like they go into Thanksgiving Town now? That's a sequel, or like
Yeah, and it's
what
like,
what if we do the sequel? What if we make it like CGI? And Henry Selick was like,
ugh.
that defeats the purpose of this franchise. Like
Yeah,
if
defeats
you
the
do that,
purpose of the franchise, and like they ultimately learned their lesson. Like it would be really cool to see them actually prepping out Halloween and like executing it if you were going to go into a sequel, right? Like stick it strictly to Halloween.
there's an
Um,
interview recently of Tim Burton where he said straight up, just like, I want no sequels to ever be made for this movie. I think it's its own pure thing. Keep it that way, make it that way, and you have to respect the balls. I mean, because like I've been to like a Tim Burton bar in New York City and you go in there, one of the things that they have there is in prominence is fucking Jack Skellington and most of the things from this movie. He could easily just whore himself out and make that. I mean, I know he's making Beetlejuice too, but that movie feels like it could lend to a sequel more than this could.
Tim Burton's second half of his career has been questionable
Yeah,
to
yeah,
say the least. So
yeah,
we'll reserve judgment on Beetlejuice 2 until it comes out.
yeah.
I am a star. I'm a star, I'm a star, I'm a star. I am a big, bright, shining star.
All right, Tommy, who is the star of the movie? Who gave the best performance?
I think overall, I mean, like I know it's technically a dual performance, but Chris Sarandon and Danny Elfman as Jack Skellington, um, just incredible, just a fun, wacky character, and just drives so many different levels of this movie between like the heart, the message, the goofiness, just
Yeah,
he's great.
they gave a great performance, but I really do want to shout out Maureen O'Hara. I thought she brought so much like
Catherine,
personality. Catherine O'Hara just brought so much charm and personality to this movie. I really loved her as Sally. I thought it was a terrific performance as well. But how can you not give it to Jack Skellington? I just think he's the most iconic part of the movie. And it's very easy on my first watch to see why he's so beloved by millions of people.
Ah, are you ready, comedy partner? Waka waka.
All right, Tommy, would The Nightmare Before Christmas work as a Muppet adaptation? I think
right,
this
so
one is where it gets more interesting.
well, I just had two thoughts real quick. Is this the first kids movie we ever really watched covered on the pod? I mean, Home Alone 2, I guess.
That's like an adult Christmas kids movie. I feel like it's kind of
Yeah,
Goonies, I guess, is a kids movie, but like all these 80s,
yeah.
90s, they don't feel like kids movies. This is our first one where it's like G, like this is a G movie, like
This
really catered
this is
towards
PG.
children.
This is PG, but still, it was still
Is it
aimed
PG?
towards.
This is PG. This feels
This
like it would
PG.
be.
No,
Fair enough.
it was PG. Apparently, Roger Ebert's review, which I read earlier today, was like cautioning some people. It's like, yeah, this might be scarier for your younger kids. But anyways, um, this would fit very great within the world of Muppets. I mean, literally, you could just put the Muppet pastiche on. I mean, they did Muppets Haunted Mansion. This is not that far off from that. You could just have Kermit as Jack Skellington,
Yeah,
and go from there.
yeah, I think you could just go from there. It would be kind of cool to see the Muppets in a claymation style versus like their typical puppet style. I think that would be like a cool, different
Mm,
direction that you could take the Muppets into. So this is one that I'm kind of surprised that they haven't attempted to
mm.
do, at least in even like a bad CG style.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're better off that this has just been pure. Would you go to the whole franchise Night Before Christmas? It's been what, like Kingdom Hearts 2, which I don't know. I don't know if you ever played that one.
No.
No, not Kingdom Hearts guy, probably for the better. And then like I think there was like a sequel game that was just like on the PlayStation that was just like, oh, Night Before Christmas 2, Oogie Boogie's Revenge, and that was the game, but it wasn't a movie. And I think it's better that it keeps this way.
Yeah, I think there's something to this the aura and sentimentality to this movie of it just kind of being a standalone and not being bogged down by sequels and by all these different video games and like TV spin-offs on Disney Plus now, right? Like 15-minute shorts of Jack Skellington, 6 episodes of him setting up Hollow, right? They don't do any of that.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of gives it this stature of being revered. Something that a lot of franchises I feel like used to have, and
Mm.
once they've been bogged down and become yearly franchises with new things every single year, it kind of loses that special feeling to it, like that I feel like the original Star Wars and even the prequels to an extent used to have, that they no longer carry because it's just been so weighted down and the market's been oversaturated with that kind of product.
Mm. We got to keep some things a little bit sacred in
Yeah,
our movie culture.
as much as we can. So review
Yeah.
time, Tommy. Give me your score out of 5.
I think this is a very stunning work of animation that still holds up a lot. I mean, you look at some movies like where technical standpoints in animation, like Toy Story, for example. 30 years later, movie is still amazing because of the story, but the animation itself,
It looks rubbery.
it looks rubbery. That does not hold up. But it could be a classic because they put effort into the story. But I mean, like in terms of just the animation alone, Nightmare Before Christmas is incredible. Like one of the best animated movies, and just in that aspect. But the story still holds up. This became an immediate Christmas classic, and it works between the months of October through December. I mean, they timed that out perfectly. It's like we just got to hold for like a few months right there, and we got all the holidays. But I think this is a very enduring story, and all the performances are great. And this is just a world that's just so much fun to revisit all the time. I'm gonna go 4.5 out of 5. Always great rewatching this.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 4 out of 5 here. The craftsmanship, the arts, behind the animation is really what I think drives this movie. With beautiful songs and great voice acting performances as well. Carrying it home, I think this is one that I think would grow on me as I watch it more and kind of introduce it into my holiday cycle as I continue on and on throughout the years. But for me right now, 4 to 5, I feel like being able to rewatch it again and kind of get more of the detail of it and letting me soak up more of the world now that I know where the story is going will maybe allow me to appreciate the movie more as I go along, though.
Mhm.
So that's a wrap for our 2023 season. Tommy, we're going to be coming back with we'll figure out our January schedule
Yeah.
going into season 3 of Haven't
Yeah.
Seen It. So we want to give a big heartfelt thank you all for listening. We really appreciate the support throughout the years. Continue to work on making the podcast better. Definitely going to have some big fun movies for us coming into the new year. Tommy, do you have anything else you'd like to say to the audience?
Yeah, I mean, thank you guys so much for listening throughout the last 2 years. It's been great doing this podcast. We've been able to cover some amazing movies, and just it's been really fun. So we appreciate it, and shout out to everyone who's ever guested on the podcast. We appreciate it too. It's been fun having friends and new people on the podcast. So
Definitely. So look forward to an exciting 2023 season, maybe a Godfather Part 3, little
yeah, we got
Indiana
finished the
Jones,
trilogy.
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Are you
I
gonna be
feel
watching Dune 2? Is that coming up on the
oh,
schedule?
I might have to no, but what we are doing, Tommy, Lord of the Rings. We're doing at least the Fellowship of the Ring. You've only seen the
We're
extended.
covering
You've
that.
only seen the extended cuts, which is an entirely different movie.
It does count.
It doesn't count. So it counts as a new one when you're watching the theatrical release, which is a much better movie than the extended cuts.
All right,
if
that's
I may
fair.
say
But
so myself.
yeah, but thank you guys literally so much for listening. You can follow us on social media. That's at CNET Pod on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and occasionally Threads. And I don't know. Follow me on Letterboxd at TT Squared 77. And yeah. So also leave us a 5-star review, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Helps us out, helps grow the show.
Here's hoping we leave the Threads mention in 2023.
It's not going to be left in there.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you all have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll see you all in 2024.